Welcome back to our weekly live event where we go over personal finance, investing, and how to get your first multi-unit property. I'm Pascal. For all those who don't know me, I have a finance degree, minor in mathematics, a second degree in accounting, minor in economics, and international business. I worked for Bank of America as a banker. I'm a loan officer. I worked with Citigroup as anti-money laundering, with PricewaterhouseCoopers doing Home Depot's taxes and other wealthy families' taxes as well, audited and so on. Blah, 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 blah. I'm in finance. I can help you guys. Ask your questions. I'm here to help. So, this week, as you guys should know, I've been wrapping up the class that we're going to be releasing on June the 3rd. And a lot of people have already pre-purchased the class, so thank you for doing that. Basically, the cost of the class is basically to recoup the cost it cost me to make the class between the different softwares and equipment and everything else. So I'm providing you with all the knowledge that I had at the age of 23 to get 23 units, and that's the purpose of the class. Now, after a couple of minutes, when we get everybody kind of logged in, I'm going to go over a question that I received this week actually from the class, which was how does paying off certain debt affect your credit? And there is different aspects of how that would work, and the concept of how to credit return, how your credit functions, specifically in the point of time. So welcome back, everybody, and for our weekly live. So normally I take the questions at the end, but we have someone that wants to go live. Let's see if it works this time on IG. Normally it doesn't, but we'll try it.
Howdy.
Hey, what's going on, Jackson? How are you?
Oh, dude, just got off of work. You caught me slipping. I was laying in bed.
So what's up? What's your question? What do you have for us?
Yeah, so I do door-to-door sales, right? And
Cool.
something that I've done in the past is, we have 20 or 30 people. We'll all take a neighborhood, and then, we all carpool out to a certain town or whatever.
Yeah.
So I have people basically like watchdogging, bird dogging, looking for vacant or just rundown homes.
Okay.
And then the flip side of that, finding like a cash investor, what is the best way to make a rich old guy comfortable with putting money into like a joint account or whatever to fund, a fix and flip or something?
So we kind of go over this in another thing that I'm teaching. Another part of my course is like back in the day, rich older people, and not even rich people, but people in general, most properties were owner financed, more than 50%, right? So we're talking about pre-1980. So if you have an investor that's like,
Like fix and flips were mainly owner financed?
No, all real estate.
Okay.
Almost all real estate was owner financed. I'm talking about like 1980s and previous, okay? Interest rates were different. Like, again, you would buy a home and the home would be $30,000, but the interest rate would be about $15,000. 15%, 18%. So you would sell, yes. So you buy a property, a house was $30,000, and the interest rate, you can Google this, was 15 to 18%. So one of my mentors, he's like 65, and he was buying when he was in his 20s, back in the 80s. So he was telling me about that many of the deals were owner financed. So when you're talking to someone that's, say, 65 years old, 70 years old, been around, especially understands the real estate game, they're very comfortable with the fact that owner financing the deal. Now, how did someone owner finance you back then? It's trust. Your credit score basically is a score that establishes your trustability. So what does that mean for you with your question? Your question is asking me, how do I get someone to give me their money? What you're really saying is, how do I build trust, right? So you need to be able to establish your knowledge to them, right? So if someone comes to me and says to me, hey, Pascal, this is a great deal, I should buy it. I always ask them questions. And normally they don't have enough answers. They don't have enough data for it to make sense to me, because I can calculate my area and figure things out and run my numbers in my head pretty quickly. But if I give you 5 minutes and you can't in 5 minutes explain to me, like logically, why this is going to be a profitable deal, that is really the big thing, is that you have this short window of time to make them say, to convince them, right? And you have to be able to say it clearly.
Yeah, and I come from the door-to-door realm of things. So like instant, I'm getting people's social security numbers, their credit cards, all within 20 minutes of randomly knocking on their door.
Okay.
And I feel finding fix and flips is mainly just time. It's like crunching numbers and just putting in the time to find deals. But then once you find a deal, like that's kind of the hard part in a sense, because everyone's looking for good deals. If you actually find one, it's like hallelujah. And then just the backside of like, can I go to a country club and just like be like, hey, I got a house that's sweet, like here's a joint venture form or whatever,
So you hit a lot of great topics. So one, yeah, I do agree with you. You're building the skills of being able to talk to people, right? You're building that skill and you're having that skill. Now you have to be able to change the skill you built of selling door to door to building a relationship. Now, normally people invest with me, right? I never had an investor until about, say, 2 months ago. I did it with all my own money because it wasn't very logical for me to invest with someone else or for someone to invest with me. How you get to that level where someone invests with you is you have to establish a relationship with them and establish value. So if you basically, let me put it like this. When I was getting owner financing, when I was your age and getting owner financing from the people I was buying properties from, I didn't say you should give me owner financing because I need it. I explained to them why they would benefit from giving me owner financing. And this is no different from you getting an investor. It's not about what's in it for you. What's in it for them?
Yeah.
So as long as you can come across with what is in it for them and why they're going to want to work with you and how this is going to be a great relationship and it's a win-win, so it doesn't sound like a scheme, those are the points you're going to need to come across to that person. Now, I can't tell you exactly what to say to them because it depends what the person needs. It could be income, right?
The base will be kind of thing.
So the basics, so some people obviously want income, right? But some people like the fact that it's a secure income. They know it's in their area. You can point to the asset that they're going to own, that they're going to be on the title, that you'll put them in first position, that they get to see a remodel, because some people actually like seeing it and experience being part of it. Yeah. So there's different aspects of what's in it for them. Some people want to be in it. Some people, if they heard that, they're going to get turned off because they don't want any part of it. They just want their money.
Yeah. That same old person is like, I don't even want it.
Yeah, it's a headache. I don't want to. So it depends. You have to feel out what the person wants. They could want a residual payment every month, even if the property's not sold. So like a guaranteed payment, right? They could want a lump sum at the end, but a very large one. There's a lot of things that they could want, right? They could not even want any of the profit and just say, hey, I want 10% interest flat. You make money, it's your problem.
Just like capital investing.
They just want interest. That's it. And there's a lot of older people that do that, but you have to establish that relationship, and it might be they want 15%. Now, again, if you're saying you found a deal, you can easily find a hard money lender to fund you for the purchase and for the remodel. You only have to come up with like 10 or 20% down. Now, if you're new to the game, you're going to have to come up with about 20% down. But after you do about 4 or 5 flips, you can come up with only 10% down. So you could be in a $200,000 property between purchase and remodel. You would only have to come up with probably around like $20,000, $25,000, and they would come up with the rest of it.
Okay. I just got garbage credit, so like I kind of have to be a little bit more
creative.
Lucrative. Yeah, creative. But no, that was awesome. I did see just like
FYI, if you're trying to build up your capital And first point, hard money loans don't care about your credit. They care about your the deal. They want to know the deal's good. They're going to check if the deal's good. So they don't care about your credit. Part two, if you don't have capital, then that might be an issue that you don't want to get into a flip and do the construction. Because if you don't have capital and you're trying to do the construction project while you're still hustling, trying to go door to door and selling, you can't do both. You can't do both well. So what you're probably going to be better off is just flipping the contract to another investor, getting a couple of those deals, saving up $20,000 to $50,000, and then you can be like, okay, now I got this money. I got enough money to do this deal and to live off some money while I'm focusing on this project. Because who's going to need you if you're not able to be at the project to do the work or watch the work happen? What are they going to need you for? Just to find the contract? You're really more like a bird dogging it, or you're going to more wholesaling a contract. So just kind of understand where are you in the position to be successful? Because I don't want to tell you to go do a flip and then you're going to find out, wow, I can't focus on this flip, so it's doing bad, and I can't go work, go do my sales, and I'm doing bad there as well. So you're going to have two things that are both not doing well. So when you're going all the way to the flipping game, you really need to make sure that you have focus or have a partner that can do the construction that you trust.
Well, so what's nice with door to door is that, it's only summer. So I go out and make, 35, 40 grand May through August. And then, I'm from Utah on the ski bump, so I ski all winter. But it gives me that cushion to be like, hey, like I don't need to force a crappy deal through to like make ends meet. Like I've got, like I can be pickier, which is like a, super cool position.
Yeah, it's definitely having that flexibility to be able to choose what you want to do is great.
Yeah, exactly. And not feel like rushed, like, oh shit, if I don't have this contract flipped by, 2 weeks, like I just don't have the urgency aspect. Just last quick question. I saw his name's Manny, I think just Manny Flips.
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
He's an African American dude in Florida. Manny flips houses, I think, or Manny for cash. I don't know.
Okay.
But he was talking about balloon, like a 5-year balloon or something.
Okay.
It ring a bell. It's something along the lines of owner financing and like a 5-year balloon. Like we'll pay that off in 5 years. I don't know. It's over my head.
All right, so let me explain. Let's take the owner financing part out of it and just talk about balloon payments. So this is not very common. This was common about 10 years ago, and the farther back you go, it becomes more and more common. You go to other countries, it's more common. Ignore owner financing, and let's just focus on what a 5-year balloon is. Let's just say you have a 30-year mortgage. It's a mortgage that's amortized over 30 years. That means they're going to estimate your payments as if you're going to be paying them for 30 straight years. But what you have is that's your amortization period. What you do is you can get a 5-1 ARM. 5-1 ARM means it's a 5-year balloon payment. What that means is really, we're going to estimate your payments over 30 years, but in 5 years, you got to refinance out of this loan.
Oh, okay.
Like straight up front, I'm telling you right now, I'm only going to keep this loan for 5 years. In 5 years, either I'm going to refinance with you at a different interest rate with whatever the market conditions are, or I'm going to be out and get a different loan. But that's called a 5-1 ARM. The 5 is a balloon payment. You can get a 7-1 ARM, which is a 7-year balloon payment, and a 10-1 ARM, which is a 10-year balloon payment. Now, the fact if it's from a bank or to the owner, it doesn't really matter. Now, what he's saying, though, is when he's saying he's getting a 5-year balloon from the owner, he's basically telling them that to be like, hey, understand, I'm not keeping this loan with you for 30 years. I'm only going to have the loan for 5 years. And in 5 years, you're going to get all your money. What he's hoping is that he's buying the property at a cheap price, doing whatever he has to do to fix it up, to get it in a good position. And he's hoping within a year or two, he can refinance and pay them off. and then do the BRRRR method on that property, or just sell it and then be past the 1 year period of time where he's not being charged short-term capital gains, that he's in the long-term capital gains. So those loans, you can get them through the owner, or I can provide that type of loan because we do loans in Florida. So it's a normal 5-year ARM, 7-year ARM, or a 10-year ARM. So but again, sometimes you can get owner financing for that.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I followed you for a little while, but I didn't know you were in Florida. So
yeah, so we're in Florida. We do taxes in Florida. Actually, we do taxes nationwide, personal and commercial. We create LLCs. We do bookkeeping. We do payroll. We have an insurance agency, so we do insurance for properties, auto, general liability in Florida, and then we do mortgages in Florida. What'd you say?
Will you cross market like an insurance customer with just say their taxes or something?
Yes. So we do.
Yeah.
We're full service. So if you come and you're like, hey, here, help me with my taxes so I can get them in order, so I can qualify for a loan in a year or two. So we do the taxes, we prepare them, and then we educate the person. And this is why I got to this level where I'm at now, is I basically educate my clients on how to get approved for their business loan or their personal loan, or if they want to buy their first house or second house or whatever it is. I just explain to them, look, this is what the bank's going to look for. And I just tell them exactly what they look for, because I was a lender back with Bank of America. I did taxes with PricewaterhouseCoopers as a Big Four accounting firm. So I've done all the different jobs, so I already know what is it gonna take for them to say yes. And then I just say, all right, what section? And that's what my class teaches. I have a course, it's called Foundations of Personal Finance. And in that course, it basically tells you all the different sections of your finances that the different entities, different financial institutions are going to look at. And you want to make sure that each one of them is strong. Because you have some people that have 800 credit score but have no money in the bank or have no tax return. Well, no one's going to give you a loan. It doesn't matter if you have an 800 credit score. If you're not, for example, you made $40K. I'm going to guess, I know a lot of people who make like that, the type of money you're making, that do door-to-door sales, and you get 1099. And when you get that 1099, you have a large tax bill. So what you end up doing is basically writing off almost all of the income that you make. So it shows almost no money on your tax return. So then when you're like, hey, I made $40K, the money's in my bank, look at my credit score, you go to the bank, what is the bank going to say? The bank's going to say no. Because your foundations has a big hole in it. And no one's going to give a loan to someone that has a hole in their foundation. So there's different aspects that you need to make sure that are strong. So when you're going, it's always yes. Like I never go to the bank and say, they might say yes. No. They're always going to say yes. And then what I do is I go in and I negotiate how cheap the interest rate's going to be.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah. So it's, it sounds like you're picking things up, which is great. Education is the number one thing. When people say, what do? Study your market, educate yourself, and then you'll eventually be able to grow and take it on to the next level.
Yeah. Hey, quick last question. With COVID and taxes, has that been like a whirlwind? Because aren't they doing like small business grants and stuff like that?
Yeah, but honestly, it's
like, is that even worth your time to like learn all the COVID code if it's just going to be gone in,
No. So as an accountant, you learn everything. And I'm not just literally you learn everything. You have to understand because your client doesn't understand. And the stuff that when they're coming out with these new rules, most people when they read them, they don't really get all the details. They understand like a good amount, but they don't know all the details. Then they go back to their accountants, and then we have to generate the documents that they need to go get the loan. So we create all the for the PPP loan and the EIDL loan. We generate all those documents for them or help them with that stuff, and then they'll have questions on what they need, the information on the application. So we'll help them with that as well. So you have to learn it. Plus, I own 5 of my own companies, so I have to learn it for my own. So I got PPP funds as well. So
I appreciate all the answers and the chit chat.
Mm-hmm.
Props, you the man. My roommate's walking out. I'm gonna grab some food with him. But
cool.
The Manny, I'll DM it to you. But
cool.
He's from Florida.
Yeah.
Sounds like maybe he's right up your alley. So
Awesome. Well, great talking to you, and check you next time.
Okay, appreciate it, my man. See you, boss.
See ya. All right. So, what questions do we have? There it goes again. IG. All right. So that kind of the IG crashed, so it's loading back up now. All right, guys. Thanks for all the thumbs up on YouTube. I appreciate it, guys. And lots of great questions. Those great questions. Let's see here. Got another person as a question. All right. I'm going to give it a second for Kaylee Sink.
Hey, how you doing, Bosco?
Hey, what's up, brother? How you doing?
Good, how are you?
Doing good. I'm doing good. How are you doing?
Good, thank you. I just had a quick question. So, like, I'm trying to get into real estate, and I don't know where to start. So, what would your advice be? Somebody beginner, where should I start?
So, the number one thing I tell everyone is study your market. So, whatever you're planning to buy, you should know that market better than a real estate agent. Now, in the beginning, you might ask real estate agents their opinion, but eventually, you should know it better than that. You should know what things are selling for in new condition. You should know what they're selling for, when they're previous to being remodeled. You should know how much things are renting for, like in bad condition and good condition. You should understand your market, because where most people make their mistakes is they overpay. That's where most people make their mistake. They overpay for the property, and you make your money in the buy. So a lot of people are like, well, just my interest rate's too high right now, or I got to pay PMI if I have to put down less than 20%. Most of that doesn't matter. What really matters is, did you buy a good deal? Because that's where you make your money. You're going to make a little bit of money on rent, but where you're going to make your big money is when you buy a good deal and be able to sell it for like $50,000 more in 2 years.
So you mean like whatever like area that I'm willing to buy the property and study that area, like study that place?
Yes. Now, again, you should do a little research to see, is it affordable for me to buy there? Because you don't want to go and say you only make $30,000 a year and you're looking at, $2 million homes or $2 million fourplexes. Like, you have to be more reasonable. Like, okay, if I'm making $30,000 a year, let me try to find a, $300,000 duplex or fourplex. That's a little bit more reasonable, because if I can find one that currently has tenants and it's generating income, those tenants, that income is going to add to what I'm making monthly, and between those rents and my income from my job together will help cover the mortgage payment. So it'll be more reasonable. But if you're going to go make $30,000 a year and try to go for like $600,000 place, you're putting yourself in a position that's not going to be likely. So maybe long-term hold might not be your play. Maybe it's flipping contracts, or bird dogging. You can work on different levels to get up to where you want to be. You don't have to go for that, okay, I'm going to own a fourplex right away, depending on your market. Or you might need to buy outside of your market if it's too much,
Like, do I need to get like a real estate license, or I could study this like without being in a real estate, like being an agent or something like that?
I don't even have a real estate license. I've been doing this for 20 years, 15 years with my own money. I don't have a real estate license. You don't have to have a license if you're not selling someone else's property for a profit. So if you're buying it for yourself, you don't need a license. If you're selling it for yourself, you don't need a license. But if you're buying it for your neighbor that you have no blood relationship with, and you're doing it for a profit, you need a license.
Okay.
Right? So you don't need a license. Don't worry about that.
All right. That was it. Like, I just wanted to ask, where should I start? Stuff like that.
So other than studying your market, save your money. Like, I didn't eat out. I ate out maybe once a week. I didn't really like go clubbing or anything like that, to bars maybe like once every 3 months. Sometimes maybe once a month, but like really more like once every 3 months. I was just constantly working, constantly saving my money. I made up making off of $8 to $12 an hour. I saved up the money and I was able to get to 23 units by 23. So I'm $8 to $12 an hour. Like it wasn't like making a ton of money. No family member gave me money. It wasn't like that, right? So was it hard work? Yes. But is it doable? Yes.
All right. Thank you so much. That was about it. Thank you. Appreciate your advice.
No problem.
Thank you.
See you later.
Take care.
You too. All right. 88, Miss Sunshine 88. 88. Yeah, 23 by 23. Yep, 23 by 23. Today is prone with issues. So let's try to get back into it. All right, so Kevo's like, you're the man, Pascal. Thanks, Kevo. Love you, sir. Love you guys too. I appreciate all the positive feedback, guys. All the thumbs up, all the love. I really do appreciate that. And I really do appreciate everyone that has bought the course. Really, I'm not making any money. I'm still actually losing money on the course at the price I put it at. I just wanted to make it very affordable for everybody and just give you that information. So thank you guys for all the positive feedback and the encouragement. So yeah, I also thank you for everyone who's been sharing my account. It's been growing. I appreciate that. On YouTube, it's growing. On IG, it's growing. You know, that's basically the one thing you guys can do for me is share my account, have it grow, leave your comments, leave your likes, and that's encourages me to keep giving out more for you guys. And I'm actually thinking about doing a week event in, I think, end of July at my Safety Harbor project, where I would like include the cost of the event would include the hotel stay at the project. So we'd all like be together, you know, probably only a group, maybe about 10 people all together at the project and just like meeting together for a week and brainstorming real estate and doing questions and answers and visiting properties and stuff like that. So let me know if you guys are interested. So Greg says, I sound like an idiot, but what are units? Property? So units is like a residence inside of a property. So let's just say you have a four-plex. That's a 4-unit property. So there's 4 different families or 4 different people living in each unit. So it's a four-plex, 4-unit. So I had 23 units. So I had 23 different, let's say, apartments where people lived in, okay? And they weren't all at one property. There was like I own a duplex and a duplex, then a duplex, triplex, duplex, all on one property with 7 units. I owned a 5-plex. I would just multiple properties in different areas. Yeah. So Little Big Ray, yeah, YouTube did go down, but I fixed it. Let me know if you guys are having any issues on YouTube. It should be back up now. Jay says, how much was the first property you bought? The first property I purchased was $143,000, and I put down 20%. Between the down payment and the closing costs, it cost me about $32,000 I put down. Now, yes, I was 19 years old. Yes, I saved $32,000 by that age. I literally saved every penny I could, and I would take the cash I made from working $8 to $12 an hour, and then I would flip video games, Pokemon cards, comic books. I had side hustles. I would tutor people for money. I would do all different things to raise money and to just, you know, have as many side hustles as possible. All right. So Navita wants to go live. Let's see what questions she has for us. Hello.
Hi, good night. How are you?
Doing good. How are you doing?
I am not bad, thank you. I'm actually streaming from Jamaica, so a lot of the things that you say to me, you're saying now, are not quite applicable to me. But I have a question. How do you decide if you choose between selling a property and using the money to invest in other properties, or using that money to build a property for yourself? So let me give you an example. So I currently own a unit, let's just say,
Okay.
that would go up for $10,000 US.
Okay.
And I am a bit caught in the middle between selling that property and using it to buy a cheaper property and fix it up, as opposed to using that money to invest in my quote-unquote dream house. So I'm not so sure if you have any suggestions on what would be the best approach to that. And my dream house would probably be about $60,000 US or so.
Okay, so all of this information is really based off of numbers, right? The information that I'm using and I'm calculating, it really works everywhere, and it's really based off of the numbers. So, for example, the $10,000 property that you're thinking about selling, how much rent are you generating a month?
So that's it. So it's currently occupied, but they're not paying their rent. So which is why I decided to sell it. So it really is not generating any income
So
right now.
let's just say if you evicted them and rented it to someone else, how much would you make?
Maybe 450.
And is that before or after your expenses?
Currently it makes enough to cover the mortgage with just minimal contribution from my salary.
So your property's $10,000, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you sold it, you would sell it for $10,000, and it's your rent is $450 a month.
Yeah, I would say 400 a month.
Okay, and then $400 a month, and then how much is your taxes and insurance?
I think the taxes are probably, we pay the taxes yearly, and that would probably be, it's not a lot, like $100 for the year.
Honestly, it sounds like, and do you have like association dues? Is it an apartment or is it a house?
It's a house.
It sounds very profitable. I'm not going to lie to you. It sounds very profitable. As long as you're in like a decent area where you know the property values are going to go up and you're not going to have a lot of issues with the following tenants, it sounds like very profitable, because even if you say half of it, like, so $10,000, say you $200 was for mortgage, taxes, and insurance and your expenses, you're left with $200 a month. $200 for the year is $2,400. $2,400 on a $10,000, if you paid all cash for that property, you're 24% return on investment. That's very good. Like in America, it's an extremely, actually anywhere in the world, 24% return on investment is extremely good. Now, did you pay for it cash or did you have a loan on it?
The loan, so it was formerly a property of a relative of mine, and then it was like built to me, so I really didn't pay anything for it.
Okay.
And the current mortgage or the current fees that are being paid on it were just to fix up the place, which is what the $400 monthly or $300 monthly is for. But I got a bit discouraged because of the very bad experience I had with the tenants, because I had no time having people sitting out in my house doing nothing and paying nothing. So I feel like I'm losing way more now than the potential of the places, which is why I decided to sell it. Initially, I decided to sell it and then just use the money to start building my own home. But I am wondering if there's a different way in which I can make a greater profit from the sale of the house. So do I buy a cheaper house, fix it up, and sell it for a greater cost, or do I keep it?
Let me give you a couple of tips, because what I see happening is this, and doesn't matter if you're in Jamaica or anywhere in the world. If you have an issue with tenant, you have an issue with people. Okay, it's not the tenant. You have an issue with people. So when you have an issue with people, that means you have to learn how to work with people and find the right people to work with and live in your property. Now, if you're in a certain area where it's very hard to find someone that's going to consistently pay you, then you might need to upgrade your property to an area where it's a little bit easier for them to pay you. But if it's not an issue with the area, but it's an issue more of that tenant, then getting a new tenant is going to be the right idea. But this is the other thing. Say you sell the property, you take the cash, and you do basically a flip, right? You're going to buy it, you're going to fix it, and you're going to sell it. If you have a problem and you don't know how to work with people, again, working with contractors, that is a whole nother skill set of working with people. So you can actually end up working with the contractor, taking your $10,000, put a down payment on a property, then use the rest of the property to fix it up, and then find out that that contractor took your money or did a horrible job, and then you have to get someone else to go and fix it, that also could happen. So part of the game is you have to learn to have a skill set to work with people and to know who to work with. Now, again, if you don't want to do it, you can get a realtor to do it for you. But that's part of the skills that I learned. So not only did I learn all the foundations of finance, I learned how to do remodeling. I learned how to work with tenants. I learned how to work with contractors. These are all skills that you end up learning if you're trying to build this type of empire. Now, once you learn all these skills, you have a very powerful skill set because you know many things. But you have to figure out, do you want to? Because you hit it on the head. In America, if you're a doctor, a lawyer, some type of professional, it's usually not worth it for you to get into the rental game. Normally, they'll team up with an investor. They'll put the money with them. They'll do all the work, and then they just get the profit, and they just get a cut of the earnings. Now, if you're saying, hey, I'm a professional in Jamaica, and the type of money I'm making doesn't justify my time, I can go work an extra 4 hours a week and make the same type of money, it's not worth my time, then the answer might be sell the property, invest with somebody else, and then make money that way. The last point I want to say to you is regarding your question of if you should use that money to build your dream home. Normally the rule is this, or the saying is the concept is this: the longer you can delay gratification, the longer you can wait to not go out, not spend money, not be fancy, not buy fancy stuff, not have a fancy house, the longer you can wait, the more money you're going to have. I stayed at home with my mom till I was 27. And even though I had all those rental properties, people were like, how are you staying home? I was like, well, she cooks, she cleans, I do nothing. I go there, I sleep, I leave. The amenities are amazing. So it wasn't worth it. I was like, so people ask me, they're like, well, Pascal, how much money should I save? I was like, okay, well, how much do you make? Well, I make, what is it? $20,000 a year, we'll say. Like, how much money should I save? Right there's a problem. You should not be asking that question. You should know that answer. The point is, I said, well, you should be saving at least, for example, in Florida, I said, you should be saving at least $12,000 a year, minimum. Why? Because you'd be spending at least $1,000 a month to live on your own. So if you're not doing that, that means if you moved out, you'd be broke.
Right.
So the point is, back to your question, the third question you had was, should I build my dream home? I'm not telling you should or shouldn't. That is your choice on how you want to live. But the point is, the longer you wait, the longer you invest that money, the larger it gets, the better off your future is going to be, the easier it's going to be. But if you want that house, you have to calculate your finances to see, is this going to be the house I'm going to live in for the rest of my life? Because I'm literally spending every dollar I have to afford to live here. And I don't know your finances enough to give you that answer, but I can tell you this. If you're spending everything you have to afford that dream home, then it's not going to be a dream. It's going to be a nightmare because you're going to end up hating how hard you have to work to afford it.
All right, so still a lot to think about, but at least I've had another perspective from which I can look at it. So I'm thankful for your opinion.
You're very welcome. You had great questions. Right. Good luck.
Okay, no problem. All right.
Great questions. She really had great questions, and those are very common perspective. Should I continue renting? Should I flip? That may flick anybody off. And should I build my dream home? It really depends on your situation and the type of headaches that come along. Because for every pro, there's a con. So I got a question here on YouTube. It says from John. It says, Marhaba Pascal, which means hello. Just checking in and smashing the like button for that algorithm to move. So yes, please smash the like button. Let's move that algorithm up. And I appreciate all the love. Jojo King says, love you, man. I love you guys too. So let's see. Come on, give me some questions. I wanna help you guys out. All right, let's see here. All right, got a question here. It says triplex versus fourplex. So again, I like as many units as possible because you can spread your expenses over the 4 units. Now, that doesn't mean it's automatically better to have a fourplex than a triplex. The amount of income that's being generated depends. The area you're in will depend. I'd rather have a triplex in an amazing area that has aggressive growth that I'm buying for a really good price than paying the same amount of money for a fourplex in not that great of an area. I'll give you an even better example. There's an area where I live. It's called Newport Richey. And you could buy houses for like 80 to 120,000. So that means I could buy 4 houses. It'd be like buying the fourplex, right? 4 separate houses. I'm in for, say, 400,000. I would rather buy a fourplex that has less than half the square footage of those 4 houses in one of the cities I like to buy than buying it there. Because those cities are going to go up in value, where that area is probably going to go down in value. That area always has issues. It always is the type of properties, even though they're great construction, they're so small that families don't want to move there. They're either retired individuals or very low income, which if it's low income, how is it really going to be able to go up in value? So the only people that are going to want to buy them are going to be like low-end landlords, and they don't normally like paying a lot of money for their properties. So I'm basically in an area trying to run a business to become profitable with no one that wants me to be profitable, because my tenants can't afford me increasing rents, and the landlords that want to buy the properties don't want to pay much money for them. Now, if I'm in another area where people really want to live there and will be willing to pay a lot of money to live there, then rents are going to go up. If I'm dealing with people that want to live there really bad and I got homeowners that are like begging to buy property there, prices are going to go up. And now, since there's so much demand there, there's people that might want to do Airbnb there, properties are going to go up. So the demand is going to force it up. So you have to kind of be considerate of, I'd rather get less units in an amazing area that I'm buying it at a very good price, that I have room for appreciation and growth and remodeling and so on, than for an area that I'm making pretty good rent, right? I'm still making good rent, but the appreciation value is not there. And as I've been telling you guys, the money is in appreciation, not just rent. You want to make your money, the big money is in appreciation. So again, the example that's on my page is the fourplex I bought for 180, put down 40,000, and then like 5-6 years later, it was worth 550,000. So that 40,000 made me about $370,000 of wealth. I did a cash out refi, pulled out $180,000. So I got my $40,000 initial investment back plus an additional $140,000. Obviously, that's a perfect scenario. I would love to do like 1 billion of those deals, right? So, all right. So Matt says, how to find other multiplexes are selling for in an area I'm looking. So what you can do is you can go on Zillow, or you can go on to like LoopNet, you can go on to Realtor.com, and you look for multi-unit properties that sold, right? And then you'll see what they sold for, how much, okay? B, consider of the year it was sold, because that will affect things. Be considerate of the condition it's sold, because that will affect things as well. So 88 Miss says, I have my home and 2 rentals, but how do you keep buying more and more if you have no equity yet? So if you have a home and 2 rentals and you don't have any equity, so it could be either you have too high of an interest rate. It could be that you didn't buy properties at the right amount. It could be the fact that you aren't doing your taxes properly, so your equity in those other properties should not affect you buying more properties. It's probably an issue with how you're doing your taxes, and you're not showing enough money, profit from your properties. It could really be a number of factors. So I can't really say it's one specific thing, but it sounds to me that it's more like an issue with tax returns, not so much the properties, unless you overpaid. Then that could be the reason. All right, let's see. Nazim has a question for us. Let's see what he has. going on, Nassim? What question do you have for us?
Yeah, Pascal, I'm your biggest fan, bro.
Thanks, Nassim.
Love from India, bro.
So what question do you have for us, buddy? I want to be able to help you out.
Wait a minute. Yeah. Bro, it's a network error, bro, over here. The camera isn't working.
It's all good. So
Bro.
what question do you have for us?
Yeah, bro, I just want to invest in real estate. The thing is, I have low amount of income. Like 15K per month
Gotcha.
of India money.
I understand. Ruples, right?
How can I invest, like, a simple idea?
So what you have to do is, even when I say $8 to $12 an hour in America, that's a very low amount of money, right? That's poverty level. So that's $8 to $12 an hour is poverty level. So I understand what you mean where it's like very little money. You have to find ways to save money and to come up with your down payment, or at least come up with money saved, so you can then find something to invest your money in to help it grow. Because if you really are spending all your time just working, you're going to end up working for the rest of your life. You're going to have to find a way to make your money work for you, and then find a way to be able to take that money and then reinvest it into being able to something like real estate, where it could bring you money consistently without you investing your energy in it. And then eventually that asset grows as well. So in the beginning, it is hard. In the beginning, it's hard. I'll be honest. It was very hard, right? But, you got to just, you have to sometimes put in the work, either through a job or through a side hustle. And you have to just put in the work to be able to grow your finances.
Myself for 5 years and then the rest for life.
All right.
Am I right?
Yep. Yep, that's right.
Invest in real estate. I'm your biggest fan, bro.
Good seeing you, buddy.
From India.
See you
I've
later.
been following you from since 2-3 years.
Awesome.
I used to meet your post daily.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you.
I got your profile daily, bro.
Awesome. Well, if you have any more questions, come back and I'll be happy to answer it.
Okay, bro.
All right. Bye. Nice guy. All right. So let's go with, where are we at? All right. If I skipped anybody, I apologize. Just going to try to jump in where it says, hey, Pascal, I bought a house in New York 2 years ago at interest of 4.5. I left my job about 9 months ago to start new business. Apparently, I can't refinance because I really don't have income. That is correct. That is part of what I was trying to say, is that part of your foundations of finance is not just credit, it's not the cash you have, there's the income you have, and then there's the tax returns you have. So there's the thing called ability to repay. And right now, you don't have any proof for your ability to repay or be able to make the monthly payments. So that's why it's kind of, you have to be considerate and normally sit down with your financial advisor or your accountant to be able to say, hey, I'm planning to do this. What are my strategies and what should I do before I make that leap to go and start that business? Because sometimes what you want to do is get a line of credit on your home before you start that business, so it's available there in case you need it. Because if you go now try to get that line of credit, they're not going to give it to you because you have no income. And trying to refinance, they're not going to do it for you. The issue is the bank will want 2 years of consistent income from the same source. So if you stopped working here and now you started a brand new career or a brand new business that had nothing to do with your prior education or prior work experience, then it won't match and you don't meet the 2-year requirement. So it will then put you in a tough position to wait until your business is profitable for 2 years, enough to cover the expenses of the mortgage. Normally, it takes 5 years for that to happen. An average business takes about 5 years to become profitable. So, an option is for you to go back and work in the industry you were in to show that you're generating the income from the same type of source, and do your business on the side. Colin says, this man is a goat. Thanks, Colin. All right. Christina says, $8 to $12. Come on, man. I legit made $8 to $12 an hour when I first started. Remember, I was 18, 19 by the time I bought my first property. How much did you think I was making an hour, you know? But again, I did make money through my side hustles and my investments. So I used to still buy and sell stocks, buy and sell gold and silver. I actually made a lot of money doing flipping silver. Are you rich? I don't know if he's talking to me or Colin. All right, so let's go on to the next question. What's your take on property management? I do property management in-house, so I don't outsource property management. You can outsource property management if you need to, right? Just make sure who you're dealing with is important, because, you know, if they're not taking care of your property, you're not going to be profitable. What's more advantageous, buying a condo or a house? Neither. What's the best at buying a multi-unit property? Condos are 99.9% not profitable. It's extremely unlikely to be profitable in a condo, then townhouse, then house. All of those in that order are not profitable, meaning condos the least likely to be profitable. Not until you get to duplex, triplex, quadplex are you starting to make money. Christina says, you don't look rich. Well, I don't know what to tell you. Should a first-time home buyer seek incentives programs where they are required to live in if their intent to rent out the property? No, it's not a good idea to commit fraud. That's called fraud when you say you're going to do something on a loan that's backed by the government and you don't comply. What you should do is find a triplex or quadplex, live in one side, rent out the other three sides, the other three units. Now, you don't have to live there forever, but you must have an intent to live there, and you should live there for a while. Now, if you decide to move later, you can. So question here is from Sarah is, how much do you need to start real estate investment? So you can really start as low. If you can buy property for around $200,000, you can get into your first deal for around like $7,000 to $12,000. So John on YouTube says, I got my PPP loan, only $5,200. Can I also apply for PUA unemployment for self-employment? I have heard different options, so I don't know what I should do. So it's possible for you to apply for the unemployment, because the $5,200, if it's covering just employee expenses, employees' payroll at 2.5% rate, you need to be able to spend 75% of that money towards employee over that period of time. When you're doing that, if there's no money left over to pay yourself, then yes, you can also claim unemployment for yourself. Now, if that money is used up for yourself and the employees within 1 month, then all of you can try to claim unemployment. But then again, your employees are going to be gone, and it might be hard to rehire them later. So it might be a good idea for you to pay your employees and then not pay yourself as the owner of the company and claim unemployment yourself. You have to run your numbers and check with your accountant to see, is that going to work, for your situation? But is it possible? Yes, it's possible. All right. Lots of questions came in. All right. So reactivated says, Pascal, what's your advice on pulling out a loan, buying a home, and Section 8ing it to pay it off? Well, Section 8 is just a way to get money from the government that they pay the rent for the tenant. It's not any different than getting a regular tenant to pay you money, except the person paying is the government in this situation. So really, it doesn't change things. Now, I don't agree normally with paying off a loan. I normally say stack up the cash and buy another multi-unit property. Yeah, that's my advice. Someone says, you don't look rich. Most of the people that I've met that are very, very wealthy don't look rich at all. Like my mentor that's worth a lot of money, I have a nicer car than he has. So it's really dependent on the person. But then again, if you want to know more about me, feel free to Google me and you'll find a lot of information about me. Also, feel free to go through my IG. You'll see all my videos. All right. Stocks are profitable or not? It depends what stock. It's just like saying, well, is real estate profitable? Well, if you buy a wrong property, you're gonna lose money. If you buy the right property, you're gonna make money. If you buy the wrong stock, you're gonna lose money. If you buy the right stock, you're gonna gain money. So it's a question of when you're buying and what stock you're buying. But if you pick an asset class to be educated in, and you dollar cost average your purchases, meaning you're buying stocks every quarter and you're consistently buying, it won't matter if through the fluctuations because you're going to dollar cost average your purchases, so you're going to be fine. Same thing with real estate. If you're buying real estate every year to 2 years, you're buying one, you're going to dollar cost average in and you're going to dollar cost average out. Past few years, in my opinion, it's not been profitable for you to buy a lot of real estate. Very few deals were actually profitable. I mean, I bought the 16 unit a year ago because it was a great deal. Otherwise, very few deals out there right now are profitable. I do believe in 12 to 24 months, we're going to have a significant drop in real estate and the stock market, as I spoke about last live event, and you guys should be ready and prepared for that when it happens. All right. So Gabby Go says, hey, Pascal, as your number of properties increase, how do you keep a 6 to 12 month cash reserves for emergencies? Well, as the number of properties increase, the amount of profit you're making should increase. Now, if the amount of profit you're making or the amount of money you're making each month doesn't increase, there's an issue with the amount that you're spending per month. So, like, again, if you have 10 units and you're making, say, $200 per unit, you should be left over with $2,400 that month. Now, just because now that you have 10 units doesn't mean you should spend more money, right? So you're spending money to buy the units, you should build your cash reserves back up. If you don't have the proper cash reserves, you should not buy another property, or you should get a partner to help you bring in more cash to cover those expenses to help you buy that property. But either way, you should be focusing on building your cash reserves along the way, okay? What do you think of Rafael Vargas? I don't know who Rafael Vargas is. What is it better, the stock market or having rental properties? In my opinion, I prefer rental properties. Rental properties have been very profitable for me, and I have control of making sure that they become profitable. I have control of picking where I want to buy, and I have control of remodeling the tenants. I have a lot of control, and as a control freak, I kind of like that. So, but the reality is, again, that is your business. Right? In the beginning, it says, oh, cash, mailbox money and just passive income. In the beginning, when you're managing rental properties, it is not that passive. You do have to do some work. You do have to use some research. You have to know what you're doing. Eventually, it becomes very passive, where I honestly there's some properties I didn't show up for 5 years. I've never seen the property for 5 years. And again, it's local. It's not even far. I would go to the same city, go enjoy the restaurants, because they have very nice restaurants, and not even go to the property, just because there's no point. It was just doing very well without me. So, but in the beginning, it's not passive, but it is very profitable. And you get the multiple on your money. So you can be able to get 5 to 1 on your money. It's very good. The tax advantages are amazing for real estate investors. Stock market investors do not have those benefits. So next question I have here is, how would you go about starting in real estate if you are in an expensive market? So I would wait for the dip, because I've been telling everyone, no matter what market you're in, you should wait 12 to 24 months. You should not be buying any real estate for 12 to 24 months unless you're getting a ridiculous deal. Now, study your market. So when it dips, it should at least dip 20%. So save up all your money to be able to buy the property. If you're buying a multi-unit property, you can afford a more expensive property because the tenant is going to be helping you pay the mortgage, and the bank's going to calculate that in the payments. So Wayne says, industrial property, real estate. I don't understand. Oh, industrial property over real estate? Well, industrial property in real estate is the same thing. Industrial property is a type of real estate. And I'm fine with that too. The issue is the past few years, you should be able to make 12, 15% on your money on cap weight wise on an industrial property, which was so ridiculously good, right? Now you're making less than apartment buildings, which is a more conservative asset. So it doesn't make any sense right now. But if they go back and they become cheap, or not cheap, but highly profitable, then yeah, I'd be interested. What's your opinion on using an LLC versus IRA for viability? So using an LLC to reduce to not reduce liability, but to kind of shield yourself from having liability is a good idea. I use those. An IRA for liability. So having an IRA doesn't shield you from liability, because an IRA is a retirement vehicle. It does not shield you from liability. For example, if you own a rental property inside of your IRA, right, and something happened, your whole IRA is exposed. So it doesn't automatically shield you. Now, if you owned a rental property in your IRA in an LLC, then it could be shielded. But the IRA itself doesn't do anything. It's just choosing to have your income tax deferred. Do you have an idea of how to start the real estate in India? So real estate in India, it's real estate in Jamaica, real estate in every country is the same. You have to first study your market. Then you have to save up your money for a down payment, or get a partner to put up the money for the properties you're looking to purchase. You're going to either remodel them and sell them for a profit, or you're going to then take the properties and rent them out. You have to determine what your business plan is. You can also not own the property at all in America, and you can just flip the contract, meaning I buy a property for $100,000, get a contract for $100,000, but in reality, in the current condition, it's worth $120,000. I can flip it to someone else and sell it to them for $120,000. Never really take possession of the property, only flip the contract and make $20,000. So that's really what are you looking to do? Pascal, thanks for sharing your knowledge and skills. Thank you. You're welcome. All right. Jez says, would you suggest buying first multifamily units with where the market is headed? If you find a great deal, then yes. If not, I would wait. But make sure whatever you're buying, it's a good deal, because don't think I'm going to buy it and in 2 years it's going to be worth more money. It's very unlikely for that to happen. In 2 years, it's more likely that properties are going to be lower in value. Stocks are going to be lower in value. All right. Sean Brigham says, do you take advantage of tax breaks with opportunity zones? I don't, just because remember. So, all right. So Sean has a great question. I'm going to pin this comment. So opportunity zones are areas that the government has designated as a zone that they would like to increase opportunities. So in an opportunity zone, if you create an opportunity fund and you buy properties inside of an opportunity zone within an opportunity fund, right? The property you purchase, if you invest 100% of the purchase price back into the property, then any profit you make on that property when you sell it in 10 years is not taxed. Do you see all those contingencies? So you have to, if you buy a $100,000 property, you must invest $100,000 in it. And then you have to wait 10 years, and then when you sell it, you will not be taxed on the profit. Good news is, If you buy for 100, invest another 100, so you're in for 200. But in 10 years, you made a smart decision on where to buy and the type of renovations you did. You could make say $600,000 on the property, and that 400 profit would be not taxed. So it's a great opportunity, but you have to, be conscious of that. So Kevro says, can you talk about doing your tax return properly to benefit you? So one of the big factors is you got to show all the money you're making. Now, if you're saying, hey, I'm self-employed and I make a lot of money and I don't want to pay a lot of taxes, you can get paid not directly to yourself, but into an LLC that you own. And then the LLC can pay you partially as an employee and partially as an owner. And then since you're getting paid partially as an owner, that portion is not paying Social Security and Medicare. So you saved yourself like 17% in tax just by that one move. And then you get additional write-offs. Now, at the same time, if you own rental property or you own a business and you buy an asset, let's just say your car, and then you start writing off your car, banks will add back any depreciation you wrote off on your taxes. So that actually, even though you paid less taxes doing that, the bank will add back that deduction you put in to then increase your income again for the purposes of a loan. So you by doing it, by preparing your taxes properly, you'll be able to qualify for more real estate loans. Christina says, thank you, Pascal. You're great. Thank you, Christina. All right, Wayne, you're welcome, Wayne. All right, so I got a question. It says, can you go more into detail on why you see property values dropping in 12 to 15 months? So why, just so you guys know, whoever's wondering, I put out a video, I think it was Sunday, right? It was Sunday, explaining why in full detail for like 25 straight minutes. So I'm going to give you a quick answer. Given the fact that there's the largest unemployment since the Great Depression, and we have at least over 10 million Americans behind on their mortgage, and we have forbearances on and also rents. You can't do evictions for like 12 months. So in 12 months, we're going to have a lot of people selling their properties because they have the eviction problem. We have a lot of people selling their properties because they can't Airbnb. They've lost so much money with not being able to rent their property. There's going to be so many people losing their jobs because restaurants are closing down. Hotels are going to be closing down. Gyms are going to be closing down. All of these people aren't going to be working. Right now, they're giving out extra money to help people get back on their feet. Well, they decided not to do the second stimulus plan, which is kind of smart because we can't afford $2 trillion. We basically doubled our national debt in like 1 second, right? Like it's not smart long term, right? We're going to end up killing ourselves financially if we kept doing that. So they're not going to keep on giving away money that doesn't exist. People are going to end up getting foreclosed, losing their houses, losing their businesses. And the biggest point is that people are not going to be spending money because there's less money out there to spend. How did I know this was going to happen? Last August, right? Last August, I put out a video. If you check on my IG account, you'll see I put out a video and it said on IG, it says about how the market's going to tank in 2020, 2021. Okay, I'm sitting in an office and I'm talking to one of my clients, and in the video it says that in 2019. 70% of Americans could not cover a $400 emergency. So it did not need to be a big crisis for the market, for our system to start like tumbling, for everything to start like a domino effect to happen. $400. That means if somebody needs to get new tires on their car, they can't afford it. Is that a sign of a healthy economy? No. And if we have the lowest unemployment in history, lower than the goal of the Fed, that means if we meet the Fed goal and our unemployment actually gets increases, less people are working, what's going to happen? Our economy is going to get worse. Anything happens to the people, 104 people that cannot cover $400 emergency, it's going to get worse. And it's going to spiral down. In 2018, they had to actually do lower interest rates to make loans more affordable for mid-sized corporations because they couldn't afford their payments. As you can see, there's a big downward spiral, and the system's not going to be able to hold it. This happens, if you look back, every 7 to 10 years we have something like this happen. Crash, rebound, crash, rebound. It's been 12 years. It doesn't make any sense that it would stay up. Last point. Disney. I want to buy Disney stock. It's a great company. Everyone loves Disney, right? Its PE ratio is 39.75. What that means is it's going to take them 40 years of profit to make up for one share cost. A conservative number is like 15 to 20. That means if Disney stock fell half, went half price, it would then be at a conservative level for what's normal. So that means a 50% drop in its price would then be normal pricing. That is how overinflated we are. I know it sounds scary and it sounds crazy, but I'm not making these decisions. The numbers are saying this is what's going to happen. It cannot continue going that way. And if it does go that way, eventually it's going to get so high that the drop is going to be even harder. Last point. Again, I go into a lot more detail in last week's video, so go check that out on YouTube. You're going to learn a lot more. So last point is this. That when 2008, the market tanked. The stocks went down to $8,000. And Dow went down to like $8,000. We went down to $18,005. And this is a worse situation than happened in 2008. So we're in a worse situation, but it didn't even get as bad as it was in 2008. That doesn't make any sense. Right? So it's not logical. I think right now you can see that senators are selling their stocks. Warren Buffett didn't spend any money. Warren Buffett loves a sale. He didn't spend any money. Warren Buffett has enough cash to buy all of Disney, the whole company, and take it off of the stock market. And he didn't buy anything. He sold. So one of the best investors in history said, it's not good enough to buy right now. You don't have to trust me. Trust Warren Buffett. He says he does not think it's a good time to buy. All right. Good night for all those going to bed. I got a question that says from King. He says, is FHA a scam? No, it's not a scam. Why would you think it's a scam? Jaro says, I have $50K in savings paid towards the mortgage or save more since I can't refinance. Do not pay down your mortgage. Especially if you're telling me, is it the same person that said they just opened a business? What's going to happen is when the market tanks, liquidity disappears. Cash disappears on the market. Your businesses are going to make less money. People are going to get fired. What happens is when that happens, it's a liquidity problem. All the cash disappears in the market. So if you have $50K, you have enough cash to keep things going, keep your mortgage going. Your bank does not care that you paid down half of your mortgage. If you can't make the next payment, they're going to evict you. They're going to foreclose on you. So don't pay it down just so you can lose the house later. Keep the cash and be prepared because you might be able to use that cash and get a good deal. I'm going to answer a few more questions, guys. Says Richard says FHA is a scam. Is that true? No, I don't agree that FHA is a scam. I mean, I believe this, and I've been pretty consistent. Your loan does not determine if you bought a good deal. The purchase price of the property determines if you got a good deal. I've bought properties with 15% interest rate loans and made money. What does it matter if you're paying a little bit more interest with FHA? What do they charge, like 1% more? No big deal. What are they charging you, PMI? No big deal. The big deal is the property profitable? And if the property is a profitable and a good deal, then it's a good deal. The loan doesn't matter. Now, is the FHA giving you an opportunity to put down less money down? Yeah, it's giving you that opportunity. Now, you need to make sure that you're buying a good deal. If you use that to buy an expensive property, no, it's a bad deal, because now you just got very leveraged on a bad deal. Now, if you get very leveraged on a deal, the property that is good, that has a lot of room for appreciation, you just took, say, $7,000 down, which is 3.5% of a $200,000 property, and you can force appreciation and make it worth $280,000. You just spent $70,000. You spent $7,000 and made $80,000 worth of equity. You made what? 1,000% return on your money. So it depends on the deal. It doesn't depend on the loan. All right. Do you use Series LLC for multiple properties? Yeah, I have different LLCs for different properties, but some properties are bundled within one LLC. It really depends on the location of each property. It depends on the amount of money for each property. Okay, if someone is on the edge of listing their home, how would you convince them today? Basically tell them, I think the market's going to tank in the next 12 to 24 months. So you want to get your money now and get out when you can. I've actually been telling that to everybody I know. Like literally everyone I know, I've been telling, look, if you're going to sell your house, sell, get out now, because you ain't going to get more money in 12 to 24 months. 0.08%, who cares? Yeah, that's less than 1%. That's super cheap. Nell says, what are you doing with your profits, business now, to keep you from losing money without this next recession? My businesses are pretty recession proof. No matter what economy you're in, you have to get auto insurance, you have to get home insurance. In a bad economy, people refinance. In a bad economy, people buy houses, they need loans. In a good economy, they buy houses. In a good economy, they refinance. You always have to do your taxes. So explain to me how any of my businesses are not going to make money. In bad economy, more people rent properties than buy properties. Explain to me how my rental business is going to do worse. My rents go up, they don't go down. So any way you cut it, I'm going to win. So I'm not telling you guys this because I'm afraid of losing. I'm telling you guys this information because I'm afraid of you guys losing. I'm going to be fine. I'm actually going to benefit from this happening. I'm not going to get hurt. So it's kind of, you guys have to be cautious and be careful because my business is recession proof. How do you know a property has a lot of room for appreciation? Well, it's pretty simple. Let's say the property next door sold for $300 and you're buying yours for $200. There's a lot of room for appreciation. You can force it by, most of the time it's because it hasn't been remodeled. So if you buy it, make sure that your remodel cost is going to be very expensive. You can then remodel it and sell it for like the property next door that sold for $300. So defining a good deal goes with the explanation earlier, where if you find a property, like I bought the property in Safety Harbor, it was like $950,000. And I knew based off of the purchase price, the number of square feet, the number of units, the location, the amount of land I was getting, that if I invested, say, $200,000 to $600,000, I should be able to increase the property value 50 to 100%. So I was in for $1.6 million, and the property's worth $3.2 million now. And that's from 1 year of work. So I did in 1 year, made $1.6 million in value increase. I could sell it and take the profit now, or just do what I'm doing now, which is basically just keep the property and not pay tax on the gain. Because just because I made that wealth, built that wealth, I don't have to pay any taxes until I sell it. So normally that's the way I see. I see is like, okay, is this property is selling for less than what I could sell it for remodeled, and then I figure out what would the remodel cost be, and then to see is there margin, is there profit in between those numbers, and if it's yes, then that's a good deal. That's a simple way of explaining it. All right. Morel says, in the process of qualifying for an FHA loan, what is the best way to prepare myself to manage a rental property? Well, those are two different questions. FHA loan and prepare yourself to manage rental properties. Understand what the market rents are. Make sure that you are prepared to be like as I say, a strong dad. Okay? So a strong dad establishes the rules and holds people to the rules and does not make excuses when people do not follow the rules. So for example, if you tell the tenant the rent is due on the 1st, it's late after the 5th, and you receive it on the 6th, you send them an eviction notice. You send them a notice saying that they owe the additional rent charge. And now you'd be like, well, that's kind of dickish. Why would you do that? For them to understand, like you give one forgiveness. You forgive them one time. You say, hey, I'm gonna let this pass, but next time if it happens, I'm gonna charge you the additional rent charge. If you do not have that strict in those expectations, they're gonna get looser with you. They're gonna make sure to pay and spend money on whatever else they feel like because they know they can be lenient with you. Yeah, I could be late. He'll forgive me. I can pay rent on the 12th of the month. He'll let it slide. Eventually, it gets worse and worse and worse and worse, and they're gonna start paying bills that are whoever's pushing them the most to pay that bill. Well, the light company says they're gonna shut off my power. I want to pay the light first. Well, if you never let them this is the thing you gotta understand. If you didn't allow them to get to the 12th of the month, they would have been better they would have managed their money better because they would have known, okay, I can't buy those extra shoes this month. I can't buy extra Starbucks this month. I can't have extra drinks at the bar this month. But if you let it slide, they have nothing to encourage them to be, have a better grip on their finances. Now, this is the one thing you got to understand. This is what I never thought this was this way, but I've learned it's this way. Not everybody is going to think the way that we're thinking here. Most people aren't even showing up to this. I'm giving you guys a lot of free information, and they're not even showing up for it. They're not even choosing to better themselves. Now, that's a choice people make, and that's fine. That's their choice. But my point is this. People will choose to be very bad with their money and rather spend their money on drinking or new clothes than paying their rent. And if you're not strong enough to make sure that, hey, you didn't pay on time, here's your additional rent charge, and charge them those late fees, what's going to end up happening gets worse and worse and worse. And before you even know it, they're 3 months behind on their rent. And you're using your money out of your pocket to pay that mortgage. I'm being serious. Do you know how I know this? Is because it happened to me. It happened to me many times until I got better. Not they got better. I got better. I got more strict. So you got to hold yourself accountable, and you got to hold them accountable. All right. So how much is your course? My course is $297, and it's at that reduced rate for the rest of this month. After this month, it goes to $997. I'm giving to you guys basically less than what it cost me to generate the course and for what it cost me to put it together. But I want to make sure it's super affordable for you guys because you guys have been begging for it for like over 6 months, and now it's here. So Igor, what is your experience with RE auctions? What are things to be aware when doing RE auctions? Definitely understand what you're buying. Understand that a lot of times with those real estate auctions that the fee is on top of the price you're buying it for. So say you buy the property for $100,000, the amount of money you have to come to the table is going to be like $105. 2, most auctions are overpriced. Like things are really bid up overpriced. People get aggressive. They get in their head. I'm going to get this deal. It's usually, I've not found very many of them profitable. Jocelyn says, but how do you know this? Do you use comps to look at prices per square footage, etc.? Yes, I actually look at what was actually sold on Zillow and Realtor. I use those apps to see what was sold, and that's my comp. And I make sure that it's not 2-3 years ago, that it's been within like the last year, 6 months. So when I'm running these comps, I know what the appraiser is going to run. They're going to run the same comps, and we're looking at the same thing, you know? So that's how I know what it's going to appraise for. I know what it's going to sell for because I'm looking at those comps. But yes, good point. Spotlight says, when your tenants are approaching the end of their lease, what are some things to check as an owner moving forward, even if they stay or choose to leave? Well, before they leave, you want to inspect the property to make sure you know how much of their deposit is going to be refunded. If they're going to stay, I really don't check too much. I just kind of let it, as long as they made their payments on time, I don't give them any problem. I don't check anything. Now, if you feel that there might be issues before you renew the lease, you can probably ask them to supply you proof of income again or something like that. Normally, I don't really go through that because, to be honest, I've done this for such a long time that I'm pretty good at it. Part two, Florida is very easy to be a landlord. The laws are in your favor. I can evict someone even if they had a lawyer in 3 weeks. They're out. So, but again, I have a lot of experience, so I wouldn't expect anybody else to be able to do that too, but just saying. It's not that hard. It's a lot easier in Florida, Texas, and Arizona. What's called a slippery slope? A slippery slope is literally like if you imagine a hill and you like trying to run up it and you slide down. What it means is once there's a problem and you start falling, it's very difficult to catch yourself from falling. You're going to end up falling all the way down. So some people think that continually printing money in our economy is a slippery slope because eventually you can't print more money and the economy tanks. So everybody on YouTube, thank you guys for the thumbs up. Everyone on IG, thank you for all the likes. I appreciate that. Brian says, I'm 21 years old and want to buy a property, but I want to know what credit and amount of money I need first. So minimum credit score to buy a rental property, I think is like 650, or up property is 650. And amount of money down depends on what you want to buy. But if say you want to buy a $200,000 property, you would need about $7,000 down and maybe about $5,000 in closing costs. So we're going to say about $12,000. All right, let's see. All right, what is a good to-do list to have for when a tenant's lease up? I already answered this one. Pascal, what advice on pulling out a loan, a cheap home, and rent it out? Don't understand the question. So why do people invest in stocks except real estate? Normally people invest in stocks instead of real estate because they don't have to do anything. They buy the stock, the companies run, and if they want to get out, they sell it and they can get their money back very fast. That's most of the reasons why they invest in real estate, liquidity or stocks, liquidity, and they don't do anything except decide which stock they want to buy. With real estate, you have to decide which piece of real estate you want to buy, and it's not like buying Disney. You have to know exactly what property to buy, where, what condition is it in. Then you got to manage the tenant. So there is a little bit more work. Now you can hire professionals to do all this for you, but most people are not educated on real estate investing. It's not something that's taught. So because it's not taught, very few people do it, and very few people do it profitably. So that's what works out for us now that the market's going to tank in the next 12 to 24 months. There's a lot of people in the business that are not doing it properly, and the prices are going to drop significantly. And that's when we can go, and when all those properties go up for sale, a whole bunch are going to go up at a time, which is causing the market to tank, and then we can go and pick up the properties for cheaper. And normally they'll be more profitable. All right, so I'm going to answer one more question, and then we'll call it a night. When you see a property on Zillow that says cash offer only, does that mean they want all cash up front? Yes, that's what it means. They want all cash up front. And normally what that, you can also normally get a hard money loan, because the hard money loan is basically like a cash deal. So you don't have to actually have all the cash yourself. You can get a hard money loan and just show proof of funds, and that should get you the deal. So guys, we've actually been on for like an hour and a half. Time flew by. So appreciate seeing you guys again. I wish you guys blessings. I know you guys, if you continue studying and keep educating yourself, great things will come. Not everyone's going to become a real estate investor, right? But some of you might end up investing with a partner or an uncle or a friend or me. And in that situation, whoever you invest with, you're going to need to know, do they know what they're talking about, or are they trying to steal my money? So by you being able to test the people you're working with, you can tell if they know. And at the same time, when you educate yourself on your finances, it helps you in multiple aspects of your life. For the rest of this week, my course, Foundations of Personal Finance, is on sale. Link is in the bio, and the bio on IG. And after the $297 sale, it goes up to $997. So again, I made it for you guys. Hope you enjoy it. I'd love to have your feedback on it as well, and to find different ways I can improve along the way. Any other questions? I'm going to go live again on Sunday at 10 p.m. and every Wednesday at 10 p.m. So love you guys. I wish you guys blessings. You guys have a great night.